All right, idea stolen from Nate Lanier in the Treehouse YouTube channel. We are going to do our own Irish Stout tasting. This might be my favorite, or certainly one of my handful of favorite styles. So let's get into it. So we're starting off with one I've never had, Sullivan's Black Marble Stout. So let's take a look at the can. Enjoy the taste of our draft stout brewed with roast barley, chocolate, wheat malts, and the choicest hops. They even tell you the hops. Admiral, which is an English bittering variety, Magnum, another bittering, and Goldings. So a little bit more of a varied grist, a little bit more hop flavor maybe than your prototype Guinness. So let's see how they want to support. The creamy pour. Chill can, done. Tilt glass slightly, pour smoothly. So this isn't like a left hand where they tell you to pour hard. It tells you to pour normal. ABV 5.1. So this might even be in kind of the extra stout category. So we'll give this a go. Never had this one. Ooh. I don't know how smoothly I poured it. This is pretty smooth. Nice nitro cascade. Let's take a whiff here. Aroma. Lots and lots of chocolate. Almost portery. Color. I'd say it's a dark brown, not quite black. Nice, thick, creamy tan head. The flavor is interesting. It's definitely get a little bit more of the chocolate. There's also a little bit more of kind of a burnt acrid. It finishes a lot drier than Guinness. Not bad. Okay, stout number 2. Forged Irish Stout. Another new to me Irish brew. Yep, it says right here in the can. Forged in Dublin, Ireland. Doesn't tell us too much else. Nitro, big letters in case you didn't know. What does it say here? Beer. Includes water, barley, and barley malt, wheat, hops, and yeast. Well, no shit. Yeah, so not much. Doesn't sound like there's a widget in here, but it is a nitro pour, so I'll use my discretion when pouring this. Wheat's interesting. I wonder if it's flaked wheat along with the base malt. We don't know what kind of roasted malt is in here. So we're going to rip this open, and we'll see what we got. Oh. Beautiful cascading nitro. This one definitely looks lighter than the Sullivans we just had. And lighter than Guinness for sure. Part of me thinks I should have started with Guinness as kind of like a benchmark, if you will, but I drink enough Guinness to to know what Guinness tastes like, but we are going to finish with that, and this is a very specific reason why. It's taking a minute to settle, especially kind of around the top up here. We got a big, thick, off-white head. This is more kind of brown. Has a little bit of ruby highlights to it. I think we're ready. Let's see what we got. The aroma is actually quite fruity. Very English. Not bad at all. It definitely, fuller body than the Sullivans for sure. It's got some chocolate. Not nearly as dry. The finish is almost a touch sweet on this one. Again, not bad. This might be closer to Guinness than the Sullivans was. Yeah, I'd say so. It's a good beer, a reasonable approximation of Guinness, but it is slightly different. I'm gonna have to finish this pint to figure that out. This beer tastes like they either used debittered roasted malt because it's very smooth and you're not getting that kind of assertive roasty flavor. Either that or maybe some type of extract to get the color because it's not as roasty as you would think just from looking at it. Not a bad beer. Their own kind of interpretation. All right, for stout number 3, we worked in a local Massachusetts craft version. This is McKeteers. I'm part Irish, I should be able to pronounce that. Dry Irish stout from Rockport Brewing Company. My friend Ray and his wife Joanna's business, opening a tap room in Rockport pretty soon. So this one I expect to be different, not just because it's a local craft as opposed to an imported Irish. It's also, I believe, regular carb. So no nitro, no widgets, no hissing. Just a regular carbonated brew. Yep, regular hiss. So we'll pour this like a regular beer. So this will be a nice kind of point of differentiation from the other stouts in the tasting. Yeah, black, probably maybe the darkest head out of the 3 so far. Oh yeah, the aroma, roasty, kind of like dark chocolate, a little bit of kind of a clean-ish, slightly estery yeast profile, not a bunch of hops. Yeah, so after 2 of those nitro beers, a regular carbonated beer, it feels like I'm drinking a Saison. It feels spritzy on my tongue, even though it's probably just normal. But you definitely do get more of the roast for sure compared to the forged. I'd say, and it's not as kind of harsh as, I don't want to say the Sullivan's was harsh, but this is smoother than the Sullivan's for sure. So, yeah, just a nice, easy drinker. There's roasted flavors, but it finishes smooth and crisp, and yeah, just solid. Nothing wrong with that beer at all. Stout number 4 is the first one in the tasting I've actually had before. No, actually, that's not true. I did have McKeteers a long time ago, but so I've had Murphy's. It's been a long time. Murphy's is one of the 2 big stouts from the city of Cork. Cork being, coincidentally, where my ancestors left Ireland. So the Cork stouts are supposedly a little bit more like your English porters, so not as roasty, a little bit more use of specialty malts than Guinness. Now, the 2 Cork stouts are Murphy's and Beamish. They're both owned by Heineken. Beamish hasn't been imported to the U.S. in a long time. Murphy's is available in the U.S. only in cans. They don't do draft anymore, at least that's what I've heard. So let's let this rip. So this has a nitrogen widget like Guinness. The instructions here, basically tilt it and then pour it hard. So that's what we'll do. Alright, so the nitro is cascading. Anything else of note on this can? Uniquely smooth, creamy, and wonderfully palatable full-bodied stout flavor with roasted chocolate and coffee undertones and a biscuity sweet malt aroma. And by biscuity sweet, they mean, British biscuits, which are cookies, not, American biscuits that you would, cover in sausage gravy. So we'll give this another minute to fully settle. This definitely looks lighter in color than, might be the lightest colored one we've had yet. It's certainly light up there with the Forged. This might be lighter, but you're watching the video. You'll know better than I am. So, let's see what we got. Aroma's toasty. but not like super roasty or anything. I mean, a little bit of kind of those English yeast esters, maybe. Let's take a sip. Yeah, I'm getting more of like an English, like light chocolate malt flavor than I am like coffee and espresso. This is very, very smooth, very restrained compared to the more Dublin style stouts. Very, very enjoyable. All right, stout number 5, the champion. The champion has to be lose by pinfall or submission. No disqualifications. So, the interesting thing about Guinness to me is in an era when craft beer sales are declining, breweries are closing, even like big brands like Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller are struggling. Guinness is going from strength to strength. Maybe it's the whole split the G thing, but they're building a new brewery. They can't keep up with the demand. So I love Guinness, but I'm going to approach this with an open mind like I have all of the beers. And if you want to see, is Guinness, in my opinion, still the best Irish stout, go to whippybrewmaster.com and I will give my detailed ratings of all of these beers right there. So this is the typical Guinness Nitro can with the widget. We think of the late great Michael Ash, who invented nitrogenization, invented the modern stout as we know it. See, this didn't quite gush like some of the other ones. Anything else noteworthy on this can? Not really. It's Guinness. Don't overthink it. Look at that beautiful cascade. Not a million miles off from what you get on tap at a pub that knows how to pour this beer properly. And this tulip glass, not entirely dissimilar from the traditional Guinness tulip glass. Like 10 years ago, Diageo came out with the new tulip glass with like the etched harp on it and everything. This is kind of what they used to use before that. So we're just going to wait for that to turn one color before we dive in to this beautiful Irish stout. So I'm excited. Another second here. Maybe as we get to stout number 5, I pour this a little violently. This is as ready as it's ever going to get. Not a huge aroma, but there is kind of like a nice, like low, punchy, roasted flavor. Now we go in for a sip. It's smooth, and it's funny because I was drinking this on tap last night. Today, out of the can, I'm not getting quite as much roast as I was getting it on draft last night. Maybe because this is cold. Be interesting to see how this tastes warmed up, but it's Guinness. It's delicious. It's beautiful. Okay, for our 6th and final beer, we have a bonus beer, Guinness Zero, non-alcoholic draft. I've heard good things about this. Now, when I worked for Muntins Malt, we actually did a bit in the NA space, try to come up with a solution for craft brewers to be able to make their own NA beers. So I have some familiarity with how these NA beers are made, or how the different techniques, and the flavor impact that having no alcohol has. So one of the things that kind of chaps my ass about how some of these NA beers are marketed is you can't tell the difference. It tastes just like a real beer. That is a virtual impossibility as far as I know. Now, the quality of these beers have gotten better. I won't argue that, but to say they're the same when alcohol has a huge impact on flavor, on mouthfeel, how flavors are perceived in beer, how hop oils are absorbed in beer, how roasted malt flavors, which we're going to test now, are perceived in beer. When you take that out, you can't make something that tastes exactly the same. That is a literal impossibility, but we're going to give this a shot. Anything else noteworthy on this can? No, not really. Why does it say 21 plus except U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico 18 plus? It's non-alcoholic. You can give this to a fucking 5-year-old. Wait for this to settle. So far, it looks like Guinness. It's got the creamy white head. Color maybe a touch lighter, but hard to tell. I've got the light on now because it's still getting darker outside. So let's give this a whirl. There is a little bit of sweetness in the aroma that I did not get from the regular Guinness draft. That's from probably unfermented sugars. But it's not like cloying or sweet. It's like a little like tangy sweetness. I'm getting that more than I'm roast. But we'll go in for a sip. Alright. So, it's interesting. Does it taste like real Guinness? No, it doesn't. And, granted, this is not a blind tasting or anything like that. Confirmation bias could be at play. But, does it taste warty and unfermented? No. Does it taste watery like a lot of NA beers? No. Does the roast come through? A little bit, but not as much as real Guinness. So, let me go in for one more sip. And that's a reasonable approximation of Guinness, which is high praise. But to say it's the same as regular Guinness but without the alcohol, I'm not going that far.